And we are back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. If I stutter, this podcast is because Chris gave me a very delicious little mint. And not last podcast, but the podcast before, I had gum in my mouth, and I was all over the place because it's very dry.
It's getting better now that it's October, but yeah, it's getting dry. My wife, she suffers from a chronic dry eye. So here in Arizona, when we moved here, it was like the first time in her life she was like dying. So we went on Amazon and we got these like humidifier things. So we fill them up every night and they just pump water into the air. So we have one downstairs and we have one inside the bedroom that's just like constantly putting up nice water into the air. But yeah, it's super dry here. So we get that cottonmouth sun. So
it is. You guys don't know. They don't get it. Like,
that's why I brought my big hydro flask.
You're coming in.
I went in hard with my Pokemon one, and I got the Hawaiian Islands back here. But yeah, coming in strong today.
I love it. Yeah, it's you know what's also interesting is like if you live in a winter climate and like all you do is have the heater on all day, you have to have like, you don't have to. Maybe I'm wrong. We don't have winter here, but from what I've learned is you should have a dehumidifier in your home during the winter because my dad, he was in Minnesota, and there it gets very cold, negative 20 degrees, right? So he'd be pumping the heater like crazy. And one morning, this was like 2 a.m., he woke up, he's just like, he's covered in blood, and he's like, what the? And his nose was bleeding, and he couldn't plug it. He couldn't stop, like it just kept bleeding. And so he went to the hospital, and they're like, medicine pills, you know how it is. And he was talking to his cousin, he's like, yeah, my nose is bleeding, I don't know what's going on. He's like, your air is just too dry.
Okay, so they have humidifiers, not dehumidifiers.
They have humidifiers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you have dehumidifiers?
No, I have humidifiers.
Okay, yeah.
So they do the same thing.
Yeah, well, because we have the dehumidifier in the basement to get the water out.
Yes, that's important to have.
Yeah, and we also have the humidifier upstairs to put the water back in. Yeah,
we use a hose from the downstairs to the upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. True recycling. I love it. Yeah, but I always thought, I was like, you think you could like purify that water if you like took the water out of the dehumidifier and like used like a life straw and like just drink it?
I wouldn't try it, but go for it.
I wouldn't try it either, but
I know life straws are pretty good. I've used a life straw before while camping, and I've drinking out of some like pretty rank stuff. I've been fine.
Dude,
I haven't had any issues with water, but like water and like waterborne illnesses. What's that? What's the big one?
There's one that's going around right now where it's like a parasite. It gets in your brain.
Oh, gross. I was talking about Giardia. I've had Giardia before.
Oh, that sounds gnarly.
Yeah, my dogs get Giardia too. A lot. Dog parks, people get Giardia if they like drink from rivers and whatnot. It's basically from fecal matter.
Oh, dog and human-borne illnesses?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's kind of gnarly.
Be cautious on your water.
Yes.
Is what the pod's about today.
Yes.
No, it's not.
No, I wish. Actually, I wish. Because we actually just got our alkaline water system checked today.
Yeah? And how's it going?
Not good. He's like, you can't trust nobody out here. He's like, it looks like you've just been drinking tap water for the last year. It's like, you're a liar. You're clearly lying. There's no way. Because it tastes good. I mean, you wouldn't know because you don't taste. I like water. I'll taste water a lot.
So I know that my water is fancy because I buy the fancy water.
Yeah.
And then I remember I gave you my fancy water. You're like, it's not good compared to my good water.
Well, there wasn't enough minerals in it for the flavor profile. And I know that would
I'm
be
calling BS.
No, it's true. It's true.
I'm calling BS. But back to the pod and what we're here for today. Today we are on a historic Unit 5 of our Phi Guys, or not Phi Guys, the Phi Crash Course, brought to you by the Phi Guys. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what we're thinking about titling Mastering Money Management, Spending Smart for Financial Success, and analyzing the big 3 expenses.
Absolutely.
What it comes down to, it's not about how much money you make all the time, but it's about how much money you keep.
Yes, absolutely. If you, like we say all the time, like if you make $1 million, that might be great and all. But if you spend $1 million, you still have nothing.
Or worse, you spend $1.2 million and now you're ending up in the red every single time.
Exactly. So it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
Yeah, and today we're going to be focusing on major spending categories and their impact on financial independence. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the big 3, which are your fixed costs. We previewed it a little bit in the last podcast. That's going to be your food, your transportation, and your housing.
Yep.
With those are going to be the biggest ones we're going to talk about. So we'll also talk a little bit about mindful spending
Yeah.
and making sure that we are focusing not just on those big three, because those are the biggest three. They're going to be the $1 million questions we're working on. But even focusing on the little things do add up, which kind of brings us to the first point that I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
Should we be focusing on the $5 cup of coffee every day, or should we be focusing on the big expenses?
$5 cup of coffee versus the $300 car payment. You know, that's a lot of coffee. That's a lot of coffee. So yeah, definitely talking about mindful spending, you know, daily cup of coffee, you know, is $5, you know, that might be $25 a week. You know, that's not too much. You know, even that's like $1,300 annually.
13 annually. Yeah.
13. I want to pretend like I did that on my math, but I see it in the notes. But
We learned from the last podcast because we tried doing math quick. You asked me a question. I was like, now I look dumb, and I got tore up in the comments. So I'm going to do this for you the right way.
And you know, it sucks because we're good at math. We're just not good at math on the spot. Like I literally have an app that I do every day, and it's called Elevate. Love that app.
Okay.
It's a quick promo, but part of it is like math and stuff, and it's like, all right, here's a number. You have to divide it, and you have like a time to go through it. And I'm like, dude, I kill it on Elevate, but then it's like you hit me with like a number. I'm like, hold on, let me think about that. Let me ponder this. Let me think about this. And it's just doggos are barking, but I don't think the microphone picked it up. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's talk about segment number 1: $5 cup of coffee versus the big three: housing, food, transportation.
Yeah, so like you just touched upon, you know, you can focus on the $5 coffee, and that's great. Any money that you save is money that's going to be saved. But if you're a person that absolutely loves your cup of coffee and that really brings you joy, I'm not going to be the guy to tell you not to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, but could you maybe look for other alternatives rather than going to Starbucks, maybe brew it at home? Look at that as an option, but you don't have to do anything. But again, if we're going to be focusing on that $5 cup of coffee, again, $5, $25 a week, given that you work a 5-day work week, that's $1,300 a month. Or should we be focusing on maybe dropping our transportation costs by $200 a month by maybe not buying the biggest and brightest car?
Yeah, it's like for us, like we were talking about the Tesla last episode, and before the podcast today, we were like looking up the numbers and stuff. And I was like, you know, man, I'd love to get that self-driving, you know, the full self-driving. Well, it turns out the full self-driving is an extra $12,000. And that's a lot, you know. And even with the semi-self-driving, it's like $6,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need it. Like, I want it. And I want the Tesla, but I don't need it. And that would be another $12,000. That's a big chunk.
Yeah, and that's the part of the mindful spending. Is it a want or is it a need? And then kind of, again, be interjecting between stimulus and response. There is a gap, and you're interjecting yourself in that gap and saying, I want it. But then the other part of your brain is saying, but I don't need it, and I'm okay with that. Now, eventually, could you save up enough resources and make it worth it? Yeah, 100%. But you need to make that decision for yourself when you get there. But instead of focusing on that $5 cup of coffee, which roughly comes out to $1,300 a year, why don't we focus on maybe getting $400 cheaper in our rent every month, which equates to $4,800. You know, that's a little bit less than 4 times, you know, more money saved just by making that one decision. You know, rather than the cup of coffee every day, one decision, we just save money by maybe getting that house with one less bedroom.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about like the real estate and like different ideas to make more money. Not necessarily in real estate, but kind of in real estate, you know, using your home to like either house hack, stuff like that, maybe have roommates, you know, a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. But it's important just to make sure that you're prioritizing impactful choices on your spending habits for achieving lifelong financial habits and actually getting to FI.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about different spending categories, what are we talking about there?
You know, that's going to really be anything outside of the big three that we're going to talk about more specifically. But, you know, what I see a lot of people's big spend is, as an advisor, a lot of it comes down to just like wants. Usually it's clothes. Usually it's Target runs.
Yep,
Amazon.
Yep.
It's just those little spends that add up pretty dramatically. And then
experiences, stuff like that.
And experiences I'm usually pretty good with. Like if you're going to have an amazing experience that you're going to have with someone else that you really, really want, I say go for it.
Yeah.
Don't break the bank to do it. But those kind of things, again, back to our happiness, or what things that you spend your money on that actually bring you happiness. According to Dr. Laurie Santos, our number one is the experiences, and more specifically, experiences with other people. Creating those memory dividends.
Yeah.
Buying back your time. Having the autonomy to be able to do what you want when you want on your own time. That seems to be, from what I'm gathering from the comments, most people's their goal, their why of FI is to achieve that level of autonomy.
Yeah.
And the final thing is helping others. That's probably the biggest one, the most important one.
Absolutely. Helping others is the most rewarding thing you can do, spiritually and financially. And it definitely, from a psychology standpoint, it's what brings the most joy,
Yeah, so maybe ask yourself before you go out and walk into Target and you need to buy those new spoons or that new thing, is that really what's going to bring you joy? And again, interject between the stimulus and the response and be that mindful. In Buddhism, there's something known as the elephant and the rider. So there's your limbic brain, the part of you that wants, is also known as the monkey mind or the lizard mind.
Okay.
That's the elephant. So the elephant is afraid of things. It wants things. So say the elephant it sees a nut and it really wants that nut.
Okay.
The rider has very small amount of ability to control that elephant until you're able to tame the elephant in order to teach it. So again, that's you training yourself through little micro habits every day, that when you see that, oh, I need these clothes, you again remember, oh, this is the elephant. And sometimes one of the best ways is just to realize that there is something that's happening inside of you, but that is not you making that choice. There's something that wants, there's something that desires. That's not you. You can be somebody else. You can make the decision, maybe I don't want that. Just by being mindful of it. I do it all the time. Oh, I want to buy a new car. I want to go out and go to dinner. Then I'll think to myself, do I really need to go out to dinner? Or does another part of me want dinner? Can I just make it here for free? And yeah, typically the answer is yes, I can. And I can make the decision. Just that little bit of interjection is what I'm looking for here.
Absolutely, and food is such a major part of people's lives. I mean, you do it 2-3 times a day, not counting snacks, but it's also one of the big three.
Yeah.
And it's one of the major expenses that people spend a lot of money on. Going out to eat, Grubhub, DoorDash, all that fun stuff. You guys, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Cheesecake Factory, In-N-Out, all that fun stuff. We all love that.
Oh, yeah.
We all love that. I'm not going to sit here and deny me some cheesecake or some In-N-Out. I'm not going to deny that. But it's definitely a major spending category. And it has to be reined in. If you just ate out every day, say you work like 9 hours, right? You wake up, you go to Starbucks, right? You get your venti coffee. I don't go to Starbucks, but you get a $9, $10 coffee, right?
Yep.
With a little biscuit or whatever, 13, 14, $15, right? Okay. And then lunch rolls around, you have a $20 lunch, cool. Dinner rolls around, I don't feel like cooking, so I'll go get lunch or dinner again, $25. It's like, how much of the day that you just worked was just to pay off the food you just ate?
Yeah, you just spent $60.
Yeah, and you might have made You might have made $100 today. So you have $40 left over for what? Housing, like transportation. Like, oh, you gotta fill up your car today. That's $40. So it's like you broke even today.
Yeah.
It's mindful spending is, if you're gonna take away anything, the mindful spending, I think, is the key.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the mindful spending is also being mindful of it, but then also just planning and having a system around these things. So I think that's going to be the first thing that we can do to lower our spending. We're going to jump right into it. How can we lower our spending in some of the big three categories? Number one is food, and the biggest way we can do it is by planning our meals out.
Yeah.
I like to sit down every Sunday, and my wife and I will usually we'll go 2 weeks, and we'll say, what do we want to make for these weeks? And on Sunday, I'll usually sit down and I'll cook a bunch of food, and it usually takes me a few hours, but those few hours takes away the decision fatigue of exactly what you said. Yeah. Oh, I got home, my wife's tired from working, I'm tired from a day of work as well. What do you want to do? I don't know, let's just go to In-N-Out.
Yeah.
And
cooking is so fun. I don't know about you, but
I don't like cooking as much.
I love cooking. I'm doing a massive cookout tonight. It's okay. I'll be honest.
Am I coming over?
You're not. You can.
Okay.
Because I will have lots of extras. But the problem is, I recently been traveling a lot, right? So some of the stuff in the pantry hasn't been rotating through the menu as much. So we have some stuff in there. It's like, okay, we gotta eat it now because we don't want it to go bad.
Yeah.
the thing is, what we're making is we're making a cherry cobbler, and we're making a peach cobbler as well. Each one of those takes about 2.5 hours each.
We should have recorded tomorrow, so you could have brought some of this. Oh, now here we are.
Oh, damn. I'll get you some. Just you know what my house is.
I'll swing by.
You know what my house is. We'll have too much.
I'll swing by.
But also we have some cake. So the way we make it, off topic, real quick, real fast. Cake mix, cherry filling, butter, super simple. Crock pot, it's like 3 ingredients, right? But we bought so many of the cake batter things. So I'm making the cherry cobbler and the peach cobbler. And then my mom's going to be making a chocolate cake as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to get fat. So if you see me next week and I didn't get stung. I just OD'd on just desserts, basically. So, but, what's cool about it is once you make it, it lasts for so freaking long. Like, what I used to do is I would make a cherry cobbler on Sunday. And the entire week I could eat on the cherry cobbler for dessert. And I make my own ice cream too, so it's like, at this point, I'm not even like buying anything. I'm just making food.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another big thing there is like when you do that, are you purchasing like the things that you buy when you go to the store rather than purchasing something that's only unique to making one type of meal? Maybe do you do things that like an ingredient that maximizes for a bunch of different meals?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So like what we did a couple days ago is we went to Costco. We bought some eggs. It was like it was like 48 eggs. It was a huge amount of eggs. And what's great about eggs is you can use them in baking, you can use them in bread, you can use them in breakfast, you can use them in a whole bunch of different things. And same with the cake batter, So we just planned out our desserts for like the next like month basically, which is, I love it. I love it a lot. But yeah, no, definitely buying in bulk and buying things that have multiple uses, like the milk. Obviously, I love me some chocolate milk. If you know me, if you really know me.
That chalky milk.
Chalky milk. And I love hot cocoa. I have the most dubious, most delicious, most devious recipe for chocolate or hot cocoa. It'll change your life.
Really?
Change your life. Yeah, it's really...
I drink cocoa with a little bit of peppermint schnapps in there just for that pepperminty taste.
You could do that too. I'm not against that. Not me personally, but
I only drink it during the holidays, hot cocoa. So I think it's like that's just like my thing.
It makes sense. I mean, it's like 100 out there today. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to drink hot cocoa in the desert, but yeah, definitely like cooking at home, meal planning, and meal prepping.
How do you meal plan? Like, what are you doing? I'll tell you what I do, but what do you do?
So for me, I'm still trying to get better at it. My friend Philip, he does it the best, but he also does it the most simplified. And he's a machine, though. He doesn't like to cook like you. Like he'll throw like an entire pack of chicken in the oven and like box it up, and like that's his lunch for like the week, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, that's not really how I like to roll. I actually enjoy the process of cooking. So I'll every day for lunch, I'll like prep my chicken. I'll prep my asparagus. I'll cook them together. And it's not time efficient, but it's something that brings me joy. I like it. And one thing for me is money to me has a purpose. And I have to make sure that I get my value out of the money. And I could easily order like DoorDash and like order some chicken or order like a burger. But it's like, I would feel guilty because I'm like, I have food at home. I don't need a burger. The burger's not going to bring me happiness as much as like the idea that the money could be multiplying and go towards my future, investment property or future Tesla or, future life, And for me, I love meal prepping certain things, but other things not as much. Like, I probably meal prep the wrong things. I'll meal prep ice cream and desserts, but I won't meal prep like the chicken because it just doesn't taste as good to me.
That's so funny. So you and I are completely opposite.
Yep.
So one big thing that I really like about focusing on minimizing your spending and your food is sometimes I look for multiple wins. Where do these things like cross? So for me, food, it helps me with my FI number. Because when I'm actually like cooking well and eating well, it helps me with my FI number. It also helps me with my fitness.
Exactly.
Because it makes me better, but then it has so many different things that are all translating into one another. So instead of just focusing on the FI thing all the time, I get to be like, it helps me with my fitness, helps me get to spend time with my wife in the cooking and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's so many different avenues that gets to do. But and for me and my wife, when we get to sit down at the beginning of the week and plan out what do you want to make this week,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like your friend who I can eat chicken and rice like every day and be totally fine.
Yeah.
But my wife, she needs a lot more variety. So when I say like, oh, I'm just gonna I'll make chicken wings for the whole week. My wife is like, no, like we'll have chicken wings
We're humans.
for one meal.
We need flavor.
Yeah.
We need no consistency.
Yeah.
Let's
What
variety.
do you mean? The chicken wings.
Yeah, exactly. I put ranch this day, buffalo sauce that day. Little.
We'll change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just so important to make sure that, when you're maybe looking for ways to save on food, you're just not just like, oh, I'm just trying to suffer to make better food. I'm also saving money on fitness, so I don't have to maybe spend as much at the gym. But then also in the future, hopefully all these good dietary things that I'm doing nowadays is going to cost me, or is going to save me so much money in the future from like not having heart disease, not having
Exactly.
all
That's
these other
exactly what I
issues.
was thinking. 100%.
Which I'm worried about you and all of your desserts that you eat. I didn't know you ate so many desserts.
I don't eat a ton of desserts.
So you meal prep so many desserts.
But when I do prep the desserts, I do tend to eat a lot.
You see, and that's what comes into the decision fatigue that I'm worried about. It's like you come home, you're like, I don't know what to eat. Oh, there's cobbler. Okay.
Yeah. I'm good and healthy when I don't have the cobbler, but when the cobbler's in the kitchen, look out. Let me tell you. But no, I mean, I eat fairly clean everywhere else. It's like that. Relating back to like money and stuff. Like 50% of my income might go to savings, and 40% might go to necessities. That last 10%, that's just for me.
Mm-hmm.
I eat clean in the morning. Eggs, bacon, all that good stuff. Protein shake, berries, maybe even oatmeal. Not all in one meal, but like throughout the week. And lunch, chicken and rice, asparagus sometimes. So when I get to dinner, I can have a dessert.
Yeah.
Because I'm also working out. It's like that's my go wild time. It's like, oh man, I'm having this amazing vanilla bean ice cream that I made with the cherry cobbler that I made, and it's just like, oh, this is great. I'm in heaven. I'm in peak happiness, because it'd be different if it was like I woke up, had a McGriddle, went to lunch, slice of pizza, snack time, I had a Frosty, and then I get to dinner, it's like, oh, what are we having? Burgers and like cobbler. It'd be like, you don't deserve it. I'll feel guilty. I'll feel a little bit guilty on that one.
Yeah, I've always struggled a lot with food because for me, I think because I'm half Hawaiian, half Hispanic, like I gain weight so fast.
Really?
Yeah, I can gain weight so fast. I can also put on muscle really fast, but I gain weight. I can get fat like real quick. So diet's always been a big issue for me. So I find with meal planning, it makes it so much easier because do I want to go out to McDonald's and maybe get like 40 chicken nuggets? Maybe. But what's easier to do is if I just open up my fridge and I see that I already have my steak and my fried rice already ready to go, and I can throw this in the microwave for a minute and be good to go there. It just makes it so much easier for me. I also do something called the warrior diet, so I usually only eat one meal a day.
Oh, okay.
And I do that for jiu-jitsu purposes and for training purposes, just because I find that I work a lot better. I can sleep better at night when I just eat once
I would
a day.
choose the cobbler.
Well, again,
I am the warrior, the cobbler warrior. I love it.
but the nice thing about like the way that I eat is I'll usually eat once a day, usually around 5 or 6 o'clock, or maybe 4 o'clock if I decide to train at nighttime. When I do eat, I eat like a full meal.
Full spread.
Yeah, I'll have like steak, meat, all this stuff, and I can even have my dessert and not feel bad about it because. Again, I think it comes down to like confusing your body and making sure that you are the person who's in charge of the day. I don't like my brain to say like, we're hungry, we must eat. I'm the one in charge, Just because I have an urge, no, I'm the one in charge.
You don't make decisions off emotion.
Yeah, between stimulus and response, there is a gap, and I am that gap to say no.
I love that. I am that gap. I love that. Yeah, no, definitely. If you're going to be buying in bulk as well, like we talked about this, Costco, Sam's Club, these wholesalers, even on Amazon, you can now get stuff in bulk, which is definitely a huge savings.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of Costco. I love Costco.
You ever been to Sam's Club?
I have been to Sam's Club. I still like Costco because I'm not a big Walmart person.
Oh, it's okay. If Walmart wasn't attached, would you be a Sam's Club?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, because Costco is annoying. It's very difficult to go to. But luckily, since I'm my own company, I just don't go on Saturdays and Sundays. I go during the week and I just carve out time to do that.
Smart. Yeah.
I recently got a deep freezer as well. So
Really?
Yeah, it's in the other garage.
From the Costco?
No.
Because they have that one with like the shelves.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Oh, it's gnarly.
I'll go check it.
It's like this big. It's only like $2.99. It's super cheap.
Oh.
It has like shelves and stuff. It's sick. It's all over TikTok. Anyway, but you don't have TikTok.
Yeah, but I don't have a TikTok. No, I don't know much.
Hey,
about
you're
social
not
media.
gonna say anything.
But yeah, we have a deep freezer, so we'll get all of our meats and everything, and ideally we'll go there, get all of our stuff one time, and then we don't have to go back for another month. And
I'm gonna check out that, dude.
I'll show you the deep freezer. Yeah, we'll check
telling
it out
you.
afterwards.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, a big thing is cooking at home is huge. Meal planning is huge. Buying in bulk is huge, because without those things, we're going to unfortunately fall into decision fatigue. And we know that the average meal eating out is usually between $20 and $30.
Yeah.
You know, that $20 and $30, that's not focusing on the $5 question. That's focusing on a little bit larger of a question. And imagine that $30 a day or $60 a day in your example, that just continues to add up. If we only work, 5 days a week?
Yeah.
That's it's like $1,200 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's like $30 for a meal for two is just like, you don't really find that unless you're going to like fast food. And like, even then it's not quality, you know? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very important to, what I love about finance is like, you take control of like your finance and it helps other areas. You know, it's like we're getting healthier, we're getting more fit. I don't know. I feel like there's like a weird synergy around things that like benefit you. It's like once you do one thing that benefits you, other areas of your life start falling into part. You know,
that's what I love about FI is that, you know, by focusing on FI, there's so many other aspects of my life that have gotten better. I also made a mistake a second ago. I said if you spend $60 a day, given 5 days a week, I think I said it was like $1,300. It's actually $7,500.
It's a little more.
It's a little bit more.
A little bit more.
So that's where we can see that the big costs really coming in,
Yeah.
and you know, being able to reduce that by cooking at home, planning, and actually having a plan of planning your meals and buying in bulk. We can reduce this dramatically. My wife and I, we usually try to stick to $3 to $5 per meal per person.
Easy.
So we're sticking instead
That's
of...
not too bad.
No, max amount. And again, I only eat once a day, so it's usually, let's say I eat $10 a day.
Yeah.
You know, that's still...
That's $35 a week.
It's
like $5 a day. That's $35 a week.
It's not that, yeah, it's not that much. But it's, you know, you just have to be cautious. And it all comes just to planning. Prudent planning.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
I love it.
Yeah. So getting on to the next segment, I know I could talk about food all day.
Yeah.
I've thought about doing a cooking channel. I'm not saying no. But getting on to another area that both of us love.
Yeah.
Transportation. One of the big threes. Remember that? We talked about the big threes?
Yeah, the first one that normally costs people a lot is housing, then transportation, then food. So we're doing it opposite. We went food, now we're doing transportation.
I think you can tell we're hungry.
I am actually.
I'm getting a little bit.
We're getting to that time of the day where I'm about to go and do a big meal. But yeah, transportation is one of those big focuses that people unfortunately don't think about. And I think the big reason is we're trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, TikTok and social media, we've talked about this at length before, but now someone's perfect life, perfect curated life,
True.
is showing up in the big cars and just is always trying to flex on other people and say like, look how much better I am than you. I have this fancy car. And unfortunately, we all fall prey to that and start thinking, in order for me to be happy, in order for me to be like this person who I look up to or I think is a baller, I also need to purchase that car and do those things in order to impress people that maybe you really don't care about that much.
Yeah, you know, comparison is the destroyer of joy, you know, and the destroyer of FI. Honestly, it really is, you know, especially for like a new car. When you drive that off the lot, you're losing a lot of value.
Yeah, I think, so new car depreciation, it's 30% in the first 2 years. And usually that first 30% happens the moment you turn the corner on the lot.
The first right turn, yeah.
And then after that, it loses 60% of its value in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is just insane to think about.
I don't understand why it's like that.
Well, it's just because it's not an asset. It's a liability. You know, you're purchasing it there.
And it has a short lifespan. You know, it's not like a house where unless you have a tornado or a fire, it's not really going to go anywhere. You know, but a car. Excuse me. A car, cut that out. Cut that editor. Don't cut that one out. I'm not going to cut that out. But you know, a car has a lot shorter of a lifespan. You know, it might be, depending on the car, it might be 20 years, it might be 15 years, it might be even less, you know?
And one thing to think about with housing and stuff, like you just mentioned there, it's really not the house that's appreciating, it's the land that appreciates, because the land is finite. And the land is going to be there pretty much, ideally, for as long as our lifetime, for purposes, we'll say forever.
Yeah, and like the average monthly car payment, can you guys even guess what that would be? Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
According to Bankrate, the average monthly car payment as of 2023 is $716. What that means is $8,592 a year. And to kind of take this back to a financial realm, if we were to take that $8,592 $25,000 and times it by 25 for that 4%
4% rule. Remember that, guys.
If we didn't have that car payment, we just maybe bought, instead of buying the new car, we bought a newish car that we kept for 10 to 15 years. We could actually take off $215,000 off of our fine number.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money.
From one decision of not trying to keep up with the Joneses and keeping up with the newest, greatest, amazing car.
You're telling me I shouldn't get my Tesla?
You can get your Tesla if you want to.
I'm just kidding.
You want to do the math around Tesla?
Let's talk about the Tesla since it's been a topic of conversation over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Tesla. Which Tesla do you want again?
You know, I've always had like cars that ride kind of low, and I've always wanted to have a car that just sits a little bit higher.
Okay.
You know, it'd be nice. I'm not looking to get the Model X. That's like, I don't know, a lot of money. But the Model Y is the one I was looking at, and I think it was how much did we talk about? It was, dude, they're kind of sweaty. They're kind of a little bit gross on the website of Tesla, where it's like you can get into a new Tesla for 39. Was it 39,000? I think it was like 39,000. Something.
It said 32, and I was like, oh,
32,000. Yeah, it was. Don't quote me on that number, but it was surprisingly low. It was like, oh, that's not bad. Like that's kind of doable. But then it had a little asterisk, and we're like, what's the asterisk about? And it was like, well, that's with your $7,500 federal tax credit that you may or may not qualify for, with also the $3,600 in potential savings from gas, which is like, why does that even qualify? It doesn't. It shouldn't even be factored in, to be honest. It's kind of gross. But then it's like, if you want full self-driving, stuff like that, it's a very expensive car.
So what was the total that we said that the car would cost you around, roughly? What did we calculate at?
A month?
No, in total. Like, what would the car cost?
I think it was like 48,000 or something like that.
So while you were talking, I went and I pulled up some information. I went to the compound interest calculator from investor.gov.
Okay.
So most people, when they buy a car, they put down 10 to 11% as a down payment. I think it should be higher. I think honestly, if you can't afford the car like fully, you probably shouldn't get it. Or make sure that your interest rate is low enough. Again, I'm a hypocrite on this because I purchase brand new cars and I don't buy them full out because I know that the interest rate I can get on a car, my credit's so good, I can outpace with the market. Yeah. But let's say you wanted that car for $48,000. Okay. You're going to put down $4,800.
10%.
10%. And then let's say that your monthly payments, I just calculated right now, is $716 a month, which is, $736 a month, which is only $20 more than what the average is.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the average. Like, average, guys. That's, like, people have lower car payments, and people have higher car payments. That's the average.
So let's go and do some crazy math. Ready?
Talk to me.
So you're pretty young. Let's say you're going to retire in 35 years when you reach the age of around 60 to 65-ish.
Okay.
So with that initial investment into the market, just a normal qualified account.
The $4,800.
$4,800. And then instead of putting the monthly $736
towards the
Tesla, you put it into the investment every month. Given that we just put into the S&P 500, nothing special, nothing crazy, we're not really going outside returns. After 35 years, those investments would be worth $1.6 million. Damn. Is a Tesla worth $1.6 million to you in the future?
Damn, that's a lot of money.
It's sobering to see.
It's a lot of cobbler. It's a lot of cobbler. Damn.
But these are the ways that I think about these decisions. And that's the way that people through FI should think about these decisions. It's not, can I afford it? Because that's normally what people get themselves into. What's the maximum amount I can afford for a car, for the house, for all these things? Instead of asking themselves, what is the most I can get and still be happy with? Rather than buying the new car, can I get a newish car? Rather than buying the biggest house, what house will sustain me and my family?
Yeah, the opportunity cost on that is wild.
It is.
It's wild. And, I'm not saying, you should never buy the Tesla because the opportunity cost is just greater. Like, obviously the opportunity cost is going to be much better if you just invested it on any car.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's like, you got to look and see if it's really worth it.
Yeah, and
if the Tesla's worth it, if you're in a place where it's like, I could spend $700 and it's not a problem. It's the savings, the FI, all that stuff. It's good. We're in good standing. then yeah, go for it. I'm not saying like deny yourself.
If you get there and you earn it and you feel you want it and it's going to really bring joy to your life, do it. I'm not the person to say not to do it. But again, what you just talked about there, that's known in finance as the time value of money. You know, that any purchase that we make, we're also having to take out that we could have made more money with that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a few different ways that we can try to reduce our spending or our spending on transportation. Like we said in the first one, the biggest one is instead of buying the newest car to keep up with the Joneses, buy a new-ish car that works for you and run that thing for a long time. You know, maintain your vehicle.
Absolutely. You know, old people love to sell you their cars, and old people have money, and old people buy new cars.
Yeah, I mean, regularly maintain your car. Look for fuel efficiency. Please, like, do its services when it's supposed to have its services done.
Yes.
To prevent costly repairs. I mean, when I purchased my new car, or my car, I have a 2015 Tacoma. I have it in my phone that when it hits 5,000 miles, I do an oil change on it myself. Every 2 years or every 50,000 miles, I actually take it to the dealer so that they can do a full workup on it. Majority of the car things, like I told you before, I used to have a 93 YJ and it broke down every weekend. So I learned a lot about cars growing up.
I bet.
But nowadays, there's still things that I have to also value my time and how important is it for me to spend all the time working on the car.
You know, absolutely. And there's also other alternatives as well. You know, if you live in a city where, you know, like New York or one of these like, you know, more coastal cities, you might not even have to walk or you might not have to drive to work. You know, you can walk to work, you can ride your bike to work. Again, like there's that health aspect. You know, it's very healthy to bike to work, you know, or carpool. You know, if you have a significant other and they're going to a job, you're going to a job, hey, would you mind dropping me off? I mean, we'll save like 50% on gas because we're only using one car.
You can do that. You can, you know, you could use public transport.
Yeah.
You know, what about buses, trains? If you work in a city with an urban, like metropolitan, like
subway trolleys,
system. I know.
trams.
I recently rode the one in Denver. I rode it from the airport all the way out to my sister-in-law's house.
Is that pretty cool?
It was pretty cool. Yeah. And I was thinking like, should I take this? Because I was on an advisor retreat in Denver at the Weston Airport, and I was like, oh, should I do this? Because I have to leave the thing early. And then I looked up online how much it cost to take the trolley, and it was during the month. It was the free month. So I was like, what? So I walked down there, hopped on there. Took me like 45 minutes to get from the airport all the way to where she was in her district. It was super easy, super efficient, and like just with traffic, it would have taken an hour for us to drive there. It took me 45 on the train, so an amazing experience there.
I love trains.
Yeah, they're
God,
fun.
I love trains. Trains are fun.
Yeah.
I wish we had more in Arizona.
But
They'd burn.
They'd burn a lot.
They would burn. Yeah, it's hot here. It's,
and then like major cities too with cars, you also think about like parking costs and stuff like that.
Dude, I have a story for you. I was in New York one time and I saw it was like, you know how like your parking structure, right? You drive in, you put your car in, you walk out, right? This was like $100 per 30 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah, for a parking spot. It was crazy. Parking spots are like the most lucrative thing in New York City.
I can imagine.
Maybe not, I mean, you know, real estate's pretty crazy too. But like, for like something where you don't have to do much, it's a concrete slab with automated like arms and whatnot, it's crazy.
Yeah. What I always like to think about is like, for cars especially, like what's the purpose of the car? What's the underlying purpose? The purpose of the vehicle is to get you from point A to point B reliably.
Exactly.
Do I need, for your Tesla example,
is
$1.5 million in 35 years worth being able to get from point A to point B? Or can I buy a newer Honda Civic or a few-year-old Honda Civic that can also get me from point A to point B? Or a Toyota Camry. They're freaking great cars, and they're never going to break down as long as you maintain them.
Yeah.
You know, but can you flex with those cars? Probably not as much. But what's really flexing? Being able to say that you have some really cool car, or being able to be financially independent and not have to do anything that you don't want to do.
Yeah, like for me, like I have no problem being in the trenches.
Yep.
You know, like if I have to be in the trenches for 10 years, financially speaking, just so that at the end of the 10 years, I can, you know, I've saved, I've invested, I've bought real estate, I've bought, you know, cash flowing producing assets in that 10-year period. Well, it's like, oh, now I have so much money that's like, yeah, I can get my Tesla, no problem.
Yeah. What's more important, appearing rich or actually being wealthy?
Exactly. You know, you're going to want to be wealthy. And there's a huge difference between rich and wealthy.
Huge.
You know, rich is someone who makes a lot of money, but wealthy is someone who doesn't have to work. because they have so much money coming in.
Yep. Rich is someone who makes a lot of money. Wealthy is someone who has a lot of money.
True. That's a good one. Yeah, I love that. And, you know, a lot of it, one of the biggest expenses.
Biggest expense for most people.
Housing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's housing.
Yeah, and housing, it's a really difficult one. And this is why I'm always talk about being relentless on your fixed costs and what you choose to add into your life. Because the moment that you add in going out to dinner every night, the moment you add in the new Tesla, or the moment that you add in the bigger house that you can't afford, when it comes down to, you know, choosing to continue to fund your lifestyle and never be able to reach financial independence or take control of your life, or maybe downsizing or getting rid of that Tesla, it might as well saying, Dom, if you want to be financially independent, I need you to cut off your left leg.
Yeah, it's like, I like that leg.
Yeah, I like that leg. That's my favorite leg.
It's a pretty good leg, yeah. It really is, you know, and, you know, downsizing, you got to be flexible. You got to be flexible, inventive. If it was easy, if it was popular, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I realize that when it comes to housing, this might not be the easiest thing to try to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that if we can reach someone when they're still younger, then that's really what we really want to try to do. So if you are that person that's already made that house purchase and is big, maybe think about downsizing. I know it's not an easy request. If downsizing isn't possible for you, if you're saying, I can't cut off my right arm in order to reach FI, maybe think about co-housing, bringing in other individuals or families.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Things like that to reduce your housing expenses.
And that's so popular too. And even like house hacking, super popular. I know you house hacked for a while.
I did house hack for a while, yeah, and it was really good. You know, we have a house. We actually have 2 extra rooms that we barely ever use. So my wife and I have had the discussion: should we sublet those rooms out? We did it before when I had a best friend that lived here, and it was great then. But at this point in our life, we're saying, no, it's not worth it. We have the dogs, we have the cat. It's not worth that additional risk. But if stuff really hit the fan and we had to, we can definitely make that decision when things come out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, we're going to talk more about house hacking in specific in more future episodes. Yeah, I guess whenever you do house hack, you can always look at maybe doing a spare room just to offset some costs. You know, there's so many different ways now. You can Airbnb a room. You can, what's it?
Trillo.
Yeah.
There's you know, you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's plenty of sites where you can rent out houses or rent out rooms for the night. Or if you're not cool with that, that's totally fine. You know, there's other ways to, you know, get things. You know, you can negotiate your rent.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. It's like, oh, I got a rent increase of like $150. It's like, they're humans. Everything is for sale. Everything is negotiable. Just negotiate.
Especially if you're renting from an individual. Usually if you're renting from a company, those are much harder to negotiate with. Yep. But if you I've rented from individuals before, and honestly, I've always been not to toot my own horn, but I've always think I'm a really good tenant. So I usually would, when I rented, never contacted my landlord. Something broke, I would just fix it. You know, and then every month, send them a check, and then I would send them a text saying, hey, rent's been deposited. Hope you have a great September or October or November.
Yeah.
And then they respond back, thank you so much. And
that's it.
And then for them, they don't want me out of the house, so they barely ever raise rent because they know as long as Chris is there, we're just going to keep on making our money. Like through COVID, no one had to. So many landlords got
destroyed.
Wrecked because of bad tenants.
The moratorium on rental. You know, if you guys don't know, during COVID, there was like a national moratorium on like, you didn't have to pay your rent.
Yep.
Which is which makes sense because people are out of jobs and whatnot. It was a crazy time, but yeah, you know, it's interesting, you know. And for me, one of the things that I plan on doing in the next 5 years to make me, honestly, I think I could be completely not off grid, but financially free in the next 5 to 10 years, just on like my house hacking plan. Over the next, like, I plan on doing a house hack on a fourplex, and then living in it for a year, and then moving to another fourplex, and another, till I just feel like I have enough cash flow. And, you know, because the way it works is for a fourplex, you have 4 families living there, 4 doors, right? 4 separate living quarters, kitchen, bathrooms, you know, and I can use, like, you know, it's like the easiest way to, like, maybe not the easiest.
It's not the
easiest.
It's not always passive, but yes,
it's not always
quite
passive.
easy.
But if you know what you're doing and you know, like, your numbers and everything, you have good tenants, it's game over.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been a renter before, and I've worked with my dad, and he has rentals, so I know both sides of the token, and I have the knowledge. Now all it takes is the most important factor, and that's the courage to do it.
And the execution to see it through.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, it's going to be amazing for you, and you're probably going to reach FI super quick. I love real estate as a way. I've always gone more towards stocks because I really do love for me, it's all about simplicity in life and the passivity of just having stocks just appreciating. And is going to have ups and downs, yes, but same with tenants and rentals. All things come with risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And speaking of risk, that kind of brings us to our next point for ways to reduce your housing costs. And this is usually one of the scariest ones that come up, but it's geo arbitrage. Or
Such a cool name.
So cool name, but more commonly called relocating.
Yeah.
So maybe relocating to a lower cost of living area to maintain where you can still maintain your income and at maybe a same level of living, but for a dramatically reduced cost. I can speak from this from personal experience. I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and my wife and I, when it was ready for us to move out, buy a home, and do all that stuff, we couldn't afford it. We just couldn't. So we moved here to Arizona, and thankfully we did that 5-6 years ago now.
Before the massive boom.
Yeah, and we love it, and everything's going good, and but I have other friends who moved out here with us as well. The guy who used to be in the house here, he recently moved from Arizona to Oregon. He's also geo arbitraging because he, just like yourself, really wants to be a real estate investor. He wants to own multiple properties, and he knows here in Arizona that's just
it's expensive now.
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
Maybe it's impossible or very difficult. So he made the decision, he and his wife, to take a step back, make a really hard decision. Hard choice, easy life, easy choice, hard life.
Exactly.
He made that hard choice to move to Oregon to get away from his friends, get farther away from his family.
Yeah.
But be there to make a better life for himself, his wife, and his future kids.
No, absolutely. It's scary.
It is.
It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's why housing is one of the hardest things to talk about with my clients, because it's
just like a
part
major
of you.
thing. You can change what you have for breakfast or lunch, and even the car you drive, but you're talking about your home.
It's kind of like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know we talked about that at one time, but that's your base level. That's your safety and your security.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets so scary. And then the final thing you can do to reduce housing costs, if everything that we said before was just like, Chris, Dom, you're asking me for too much. I'm not going to relocate. I'm not going to rent a house I'm not going to rent a house. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. You can always shop around for better rates on insurance. Look for ways to reduce your housing expenses. Maybe implement some energy saving practices. Call and try to lower your utility bill. Maybe look for ways to offset your energy usage. One thing that comes to mind is maybe stronger windows.
Yeah,
better,
like double, triple pane windows, stuff like
windows,
that.
Better blinds.
Yeah, I know for me, what I plan on doing for my next house is blackout shades.
Yep.
I want them so bad because the sun is just crazy.
Yep. We used to have them all in here, but we took them out. We put them out during the summer. We'll take them off during the winter time because Arizona gets nice.
Yeah. And if you can, also solar.
Solar
is great. Yeah, solar has been a little bit controversial for some people, which I'm not really sure why, but
I can tell you why.
Well, because of the predatory loans. Yeah. So for leasing them.
Yeah. So if you can't afford it, I would say purchase your solar panels because unfortunately most lending of solar panels when you lease them is usually predatory. And when you try to sell the house, you also need to somehow sell the lease on the solar panels because you don't own the solar panels.
Yep.
They're basically taking up real estate on your roof.
Yep.
So even if you need to repair your roof, you need to call the solar panel people out to remove the solar panels because you don't own them, so you can't touch them. Just
terrible.
Quick talk.
But it's cool to offset your power as well.
Yeah.
And get. It's kind of cool because we have what's nice about it is it's more predictable in a way where you know what you're going to be paying for your solar every month because it's a fixed cost, right? But it's also generating power. So for us, it basically removes our power bill, but we still have that. I think it's $270 a month to pay off the solar, right? But it offsets our power. So, and we also make money off the power as well.
Yeah,
So,
in some districts you can actually make money. We had a friend up when we lived in California in Sacramento. They had a big ranch and they had a huge solar farm on their ranch that was kind of off in the distance, and they are actually making money every month selling energy back to the city.
I would love to do that. I'm telling you, if I get some crazy money, I'm buying tons of land and I am just building a solar farm. I'm building a proper farm. I'm gonna have eggs, chickens. I'm gonna have a full.
If you drive between here and California, you're going to see a bunch of solar farms, but that's not land that you can have chickens or eggs or anything built.
No, I'm talking about like that Minnesota land. So many trees.
Or that Montana land.
Oh, I'm not against Montana.
I've been watching a lot of Yellowstone recently.
My
I'm
dad
like,
loves that show.
oh man, I really want to move there and live there, but then you also have to deal with all the other stuff that comes with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. My friend Philip, the guy I was talking about earlier, he wants to move to Montana as well.
Yeah, Yellowstone has. I think I was reading a thing that like now you can like dude ranches and stuff up in Montana are like seeing like this surge of tourism of people who are like, I want to just go and work on a farm, and they're like, okay, like, I'll charge you $1,000 to work on my farm.
That is stupid. That is really crazy.
Yeah, that's the way to get to FI. Is you own a dude ranch and then you charge tourists to do work on your farm.
New business alert.
New business alert.
The Fi Ranch.
So we've just talked about different ways to reduce your spending costs, and I know that a lot of these are really difficult things, especially if you've already fallen into it. So my hope is that we reach people who haven't gone into these traps yet.
Absolutely.
And, just try to focus on spending what's going to be doable for you, and what's the most that makes you happy, rather than what's the max amount you can affordably spend. So I say we move on to win of the week.
Win of the week. Let's get on with it. That's the SD card is filling up fast. We got to get to the win of the week. What is your win of the week?
My win of the week is a few weeks ago, I told everyone that my wife and I recently got into a little bit of credit card debt because we were spending too much money on all of our trips. Now, we had the money available to just pay off the debt by selling investments or going to our emergency funds.
Sure,
but
if you wanted to.
If we wanted to, but I said, this isn't an emergency. We did this to ourselves. We can figure it out. And I'm not going to steal from my future self and my investments in order to pay this down. So what we did is we created a plan. We stuck to the plan, and I can say by this Friday, after this video video drops, we will have paid off everything. So I was listening to Jocko earlier this morning on one of his podcasts, and he talks about that you are both the general and the soldier. You're the general who has to make the plan, but you're also the soldier that needs to execute the plan. So I was thinking about alignment of the chain of command up and down that line, and thinking that a lot of people, they'll come up with a great plan to maybe pay off their debt and do things. So they'll be the general, but they won't be the soldier, and they won't execute the plan. They won't get those orders and say, yes, sir, and get it done, and stick to the plan in order to see it through. So I was just really thankful that me and my wife were able to work hard. We had to make conscious decisions. A few weeks ago, we went to San Diego. We had to come back a day early so that she could pick up an extra shift. So we had to make sacrifices. But we were able to pay off that huge credit card debt in only 3 weeks by taking action, sticking to the plan, focusing on making more money or spending less. We pulled on both triggers in order to get out of debt really quick.
Absolutely. And sometimes you got to do that. That's all right.
And it's okay to to fail every so often, but you just pick yourself back up. And you know what you have to do to move forward, and now we're going to watch a little bit more closely.
Yeah, absolutely. And for my win of the week, I had some excess cash just sitting around in an account that I was planning on day trading, but I just never got around to. Not like day trading, more like swing trading.
Okay.
Just because, it was only like $700, not that crazy.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this in like a money market account or something like that. So I ended up investing in one of the stocks you were telling me about for, like, it's like a what do they call it? It's like a money market account.
It's a money market.
It's basically a money market account. Okay. I don't use them too often. My plan was to do a high yield savings account, but I didn't want to take the money out of the account. So it's like I'll just leave it in there and just do it that way. So it just seemed a lot more simple.
Yeah.
That's
why. I like.
So it's growing rather than just sitting there. So that's good. That's
good job, man.
That's my win of the week.
That is an amazing one of the week. And with that, I say we close out the episode and do a quick summary as everything that we talked about.
Quick summary.
So today it was the impact of spending choices, evaluating spending categories, and building, in good internal habits in spending. We focused mainly around your fixed cost, namely being food, transportation, and housing. Typically, that makes up the average American's spending of $60,000 7% of their money is going to those 3 categories. So I say rather than focusing on the $3 latte, the $4 latte, let's focus on these $1 million questions, these things that can really make an outsized return on your life and on achieving FI.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they're so critical, you know. I love the idea of like, yeah, you can have the $3 coffee, but you also, you know, maybe you have the $3 coffee, but it's better to have the less new car, you know, a few years older car to save the money. Like we talked about with the Tesla example, we're talking about, you know, $1.5 million, you know, $1.5 million in money I could have had if I would have, rather than putting that money towards a Tesla, putting that money in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it all comes down to mindful spending and just making sure that what you're doing aligns with your values, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, and focusing on your why of FI is what's really going to help you to make some of these harder decisions. Because I know that we threw out some things that might be challenging to people. And again, just be really relentless on your fixed costs if you are starting out. Don't let lifestyle inflation be the thing that's going to hold you back from achieving FI and just such a wonderful life.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to try and compete with other people. Just try and compete with yourself and who you were yesterday.
Yep.
You know?
You don't play other people's games. You don't know what cards they were dealt. You know, we have no idea why work hard to impress people you don't care about with things you don't care for.
Exactly. And with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you would. We would appreciate that. But till then, we'll see you in the next one.
On the next one, and we're going to be moving on to step number 6 of the FI crash course, and I really look forward to it.
Can't wait. See you guys.
Later.